Oh, my internet's gonna be slow. I'm in the
Wow.
basement.
Oh yeah. We just had to cancel our flight, our trip. We had a trip booked to Fort Myers Beach, which doesn't really exist anymore. So we're
Oh,
going like
no.
2 weeks. Um,
Jeez.
we'll find somewhere else.
Uh-oh. I don't know why this is not going live. Okay, we are live. I
Awesome.
always hate that because it doesn't give you like a prompt. So welcome everyone to Mortgages with Me. We are here again with Jeff. He has been gracious enough to give us his time and talk mortgages with us the last couple of months, and it's been great. The information I think is very valuable that you give to us. So we've decided, I guess, that today we're going to talk about the pre-approval process, the initial pre-approval. So a lot of people, I feel, are scared, confused. They don't know what to do. They don't know what the right steps are. They want to buy a house, but they kind of like, okay, where do I start? So, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about how they get started and what they need to do.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me back on, Michelle. I always love chatting. Yeah, so pre-approval process, I think back in the day, and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times clients would typically find a realtor. Realtor will refer the client to someone in the mortgage space to get that pre-approval. Over the past, I'd say, year or so, notice that trend differ a little bit in that a lot of times clients are logging in online trying to see what they kind of pre-qualify for, which is great.
Right.
It's a step in the right direction. So they kind of maybe come to a realtor with more of a number in mind that they want to purchase up to, or that maybe a bank's online calculator tells them that they can purchase up to. And then a client comes over to me. uh, what my pre-approval process does is essentially we do all of the hard work up front. So we'll look at, get an employment letter, pay stub, tax information. It sounds like a lot, and sometimes it is. But the whole point of it is really just to make sure that you know down to the penny what you can afford on a specific property.
Right.
Because the last thing we want is for you to go shopping, you to have, that number that you found online as the firm number that you can purchase up to, when really there's a whole host of other factors at play. So we don't want to waste your time, Michelle's time, or your realtor's time, or anyone's time. So that's why we do all the hard work up front, so that it's a very quick, easy, smooth process for you, and you can find that home.
So you did sort of list some of the things that people need. Can you just kind of list
Yeah.
those off again so that people who are watching this will know, like, okay, this is what I need to get ready and have handy?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll break it down into a couple different categories. So one is for that government employee or that salaried employee, where maybe the income increases with inflation, although it's not going up to today's inflation rates. But um, if you have a salaried employee been in your position for a few years, it's pretty simple. You need a letter of employment and your most recent pay stub. That's it. Super simple. If you are on a contract or you've kind of moved around a little bit over the past few years, we would probably need a letter of employment, a pay stub, and your last 2 years of tax history. So maybe a T4, your notice of assessment. And the third category is if you are self-employed, we're going to need a few more documents to prove income. So we would need things like your full tax return, which is called the T1 General or your T1. We would need, depending on how you pay yourself, if you have a corporation, if you are, a sole proprietor, we would need, T5s, T4s, T2s sometimes. I'm not an accountant, but sometimes I definitely feel like one. So it's dependent on your income, dependent on how you get paid and how you pay yourself, and we'll kind of determine the documents that we need.
So, in terms of employment, what do your lenders like to see if somebody, for example, has just recently switched jobs? What is the employment time frame that they like to see on there?
Yeah, such a great question. And that answer has changed over the past year. So nowadays, lenders know that people move around in their position. They're not static. They're not going to stay in one place forever. And it's great to hear that lenders are kind of open to the idea of clients moving around and maybe having a new employee, being on probation for a couple months. If that's the case, that can be fine depending on the type of employment. For example, if we're looking at a nurse, let's say, who has been in the nursing field for 4 years, she's been at one hospital, or they've been at one hospital for 3 years, just switched to public health or switched to another place and is on probation, that's fine. We can get financing for that individual, even though they're on probation. Lenders right now are using kind of like a little, I don't like to use the word common sense, but it's a little bit of common sense where nursing positions right now are you can get a job anywhere you want. So for somebody like that, it's fine. You could be on probation. If you're newly out of school and just graduated and it's your first ever real like full-time permanent position, most lenders will want to see you at least 3 months in there. Although there are exceptions to be made for every file, depending on how strong you are as a client, the size of your down payment, credit score, and all that.
Right. And then for self-employment, I know, or I don't remember, being like 2 years of employment. Is it 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah.
I mean, the longer the better, obviously.
The longer the better. That's what I was going to say. Like 2 years plus is fantastic, and it will make everyone's life a lot easier. But if you are self-employed, again, there's all these caveats. I wish there was like a cut and dry rule, but unfortunately there's not. I'll give another example. Let's continue with the nursing example. If you are a nurse and you decide to leave the salaried or hourly, hospital work and you want to open up your own private practice of some kind,
okay,
you don't need to have 2 years of self-employed income in order to qualify for a mortgage. Because you've been in the exact same industry for so long, we can kind of predict your income and use maybe your year-to-date earnings with your company to kind of guesstimate what that would look like down the road. And there are some lenders who will look at that. However, if that same nurse wants to go become a realtor or mortgage broker or insurance agent, then yeah, I would say in situations like that, it would be you typically do need 2 years of provable income to qualify for a property or for a mortgage.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of, like, I'm putting myself in a buyer's shoes right now, trying to think of the questions. So once they've provided you with all of that information, what are you looking at for like a turnaround time for you to get them a number?
Yeah, such a great question. This is a question I get all the time from clients, from clients' parents, from clients' friends. Turnaround time for me, it depends on every mortgage broker is going to have a bit of a different process. I can only speak to myself. For me, turnaround time is between 24 to 48 hours from the time that we receive all of the documents. So when we work together, I will send a full list. I'm a big spreadsheet nerd, big numbers nerd. I'll send a full list of every document I need up front. Once we check off that we have all those documents, it's about 24 to 48 hours. But Michelle, maybe as you know, we can turn that around much more quickly if we need. If for example, a client's going out shopping today or tomorrow, we can have it done.
Right. It's the key there is that they get you all of the documents, not just 3/4 of the documents, not half of them. It has to be.
Yeah. And do you want to know why that is? Early on in my career, I would do these pre-approvals with maybe half or 3/4 of the documents. And then it puts clients in a tough position puts everyone in a difficult position when one document shows something that we don't want it to show, that if we knew about it, 6 months or a few months ago, we could have rectified the situation then.
Right.
So that's why, if someone says they can give you a full pre-approval without seeing all the documents, if I'm the client, I'm turning around and running the other way. It's not what's best for anyone.
Yeah. So you essentially will, do the turnaround, give them their number. And what does that number mean? It means like they've told you, okay, this is what we're comfortable with, or you just tell them this is kind of your max. This is what you have to work with.
You got to start a podcast because you asked such great questions. Great leading questions.
I am starting 2 podcasts.
Perfect. Yeah. So what I like to have a conversation with every single client is two things. One, what a bank or lender tells you that you can purchase. And second, and most important to me, and hopefully the client as well, and the realtor, is what you actually feel comfortable spending on a monthly basis.
Right.
So maybe next time we'll do a little demonstration. I'll happily share my screen to walk people through what my budget proposal looks like. But I
Right.
will have a maximum purchase price column. So, hey, based on your income, you can afford $1 million. And then I can have, hey, when we first chatted, you said you want to spend $2,500 a month. So here's what that looks like as well.
Right.
This is your max purchase price to stay within that $2,500 a month range.
Which is really, really important, I think, because I don't believe that people, like when they're house shopping, they're thinking about the payment, they're thinking about the price. And then you get into a mortgage and you're like, holy crap, I didn't realize our mortgage was going to be, $2,800 a month. Like, woo,
And maybe
right?
rising, maybe if people 6 months ago took a super, super low variable rate, did the mortgage broker bank that they use for planned for these increases, and can clients still afford this property with now it's an extra $1,200 a month? Like it's been a big jump over these past. Yeah.
Some people are seeing an extra $1,200 a month.
And those aren't people who have huge mortgages either. Like I've seen people spending almost like, their mortgage was $7,000 a month. Now it's $9,000 or $9,500. Yeah, it's a lot. Big jump.
I think I've said this before, but we were super fortunate, and I'm scared for when we come up for our renewal, because we locked in at 1.84 in December of 2020. So
not bad, Michelle.
Yeah. So I'm like really dreading 2025.
I have an open calendar that I send out to clients so they know they can book a call with me whenever. They have direct access to my calendar. And I can't tell you the number of clients who have purchased over the past couple of years who are coming up for renewal in late 2023 or 2024, who are already kind of have a bit of that stress and are just kind of thinking, what options do we have? So yeah, it's a real conversation. It's going to be this way probably for the next, at least for the next year, probably into 2024.
Yeah. And are they talking increases again?
Yeah, I think when we chat next month, we're going to be talking about something else, probably, because interest rates will likely be increasing on October 26th again.
So get your houses now, people.
You can get that.
Lock it in.
Firm commitment before the 26th. That will help affordability. That'll help a lot. The good news is that fixed rates. I guess we'll do a quick rate update. The good news is that fixed rates have come down and continuing to come down slightly. So, for example, beginning of July, they were at 5.5, 5.55. Some lenders were at 5.6. Now we're kind of hovering around 5.3, 5.35. So they're coming down a little bit.
Okay.
Variable rates are right around the same right now and are likely going to go up again, as we mentioned.
Jeez. We were going to remortgage too back in like March or April, I think it was, with a variable rate, and I'm so glad we didn't do it.
Because it was so much cheaper, right?
Yeah. Oh, scary. Okay, so then once they have their pre-approval, essentially they can start house shopping.
Yeah, so the way I like to do it, and clients know this, is, and realtor partners know this as well, is that when I give you that spreadsheet or that proposal with that number, you are essentially approved to buy a house as long as it falls on or under that number. You're approved to buy the property. So go out and shop with confidence. There's nothing that would, unless employment changes, or for example, in 3 weeks when interest rates do rise again, we might have to requalify. I think I've said that to you about 100 times over the past year. Yeah. So unless stuff like that happens, you are good to shop.
So if somebody calls you today and gets pre-qualified, pre-approval, does that lock them in for 120 days?
Yeah, at least 100, or up to a maximum of 120 days. Again, as long as there's no significant changes. The 120 days is for like the rate itself. So you can lock in a 5.3% interest rate today. And if the good news is that if rates rise, you have that 5.3. And if
Right.
rates fall, we'll get the lower of the two.
Perfect. So
A win-win.
it's
Free
yeah.
to do, obviously. It's just a win-win for you.
Yeah, for sure. And that's great. And I think too, like the most important part of the home buying process is this initial, process. And I feel like, I'm getting calls every day on listings and they're wanting to see a property. And my first question is, my second question usually is my number one is, are you working with a realtor? And then the second question is, do you have your pre-approval in place and do you have proof of that? And like, I would say like 7 out of 10 calls are, oh, I didn't know I had to have one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Do
And
you go to a
so
restaurant without your wallet? Like, you
yeah,
need to know these things.
yeah.
And I think it comes off as a little bit like a little blunt, but I mean, like, this is like an important step in life. Like, whether it's an investment property, first property, move up property, whatever, it's just you have to do it in the right order.
100%. And what I tell clients too, and this is on our first call, is I say something along the lines of, "Hey, I'm going to ask you to do about 30 minutes of work, and I promise it's going to save you hours and hours of time and money over the
Yeah,
next 5, 6, 7, 10 years of your life." So
right.
30 to 45 minutes of some good work that you're putting in to get all the documents ready to rock.
Yeah,
That's all we need. We won't need anything else. So,
yeah.
and then that way you can have that confidence, Michelle. You can have the confidence too that your clients are good to go.
And that's what I love about it too, is I always try to communicate with whoever they're working with, whether it be a broker or bank or whatever. Banks are my least favorite just because a lot of them work 9 to 5 and they're not available and it's super annoying. But
You
that's
said
what
it, not me.
yeah, I'm allowed to say it.
Yeah.
It's how I feel. I'm entitled to my opinion. But yeah, so it's really important that that communication is open, because, there might be a situation where there's a buyer who finds that perfect house and it's, say, 5 or 10,000 over maybe their budget. Can we collaborate and come up with, a creative way of, making this work and stuff
Yeah, like
like that?
problem solving. That's what it's all about for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, just constant communication, constant bouncing ideas off of, if there's three of us working together, perfect.
Yep.
Let's all three of us try to come up with a creative solution here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, yeah, it's just, I hope that people get value out of this, because, it is the most important step, and being, educated and in the know with your numbers makes all the difference too. And it allows you to not find your dream home and then have your heart crushed because you realize that you can't actually afford it.
Yes, I am. We're preaching the same thing. That's
Yeah.
awesome, Michelle. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time today, and I know that we will be chatting. It doesn't seem like a month goes by, like when we talk.
No,
It feels like I only talked to you like a couple weeks ago.
I
It's so
know,
weird.
and maybe it was. I don't know what happened, but I'm really excited for the
Yeah,
next conversation in a month.
awesome. Yeah.
After the rate increase, we'll have a bit more information as
Yeah.
to what the end of the year is looking like.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I look forward to it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye-bye.